G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it.
Welcome, everyone. Today I'm interviewing Evan Batten, who is founder of MoveView Media, based in Sydney, Australia. So thanks for your time, Evan.
Good morning, Michael. Great to chat to you. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, so it's good to finally meet you. Amanda Jones, who I work with, introduced me to you and thought you'd be a great guest, and looking forward to the chat. And today we're chatting about how to use your smart camera to film video, which is what your business is about. And I reckon it's certainly a great topic for small business owners, and a cheap and effective way to film video for their marketing. So to kick off, mate, tell our audience a bit about yourself and your experience on this topic.
Yeah, look, I'm so excited and passionate about this, Michael. And I love the way you've described it. I think of it as affordable and authentic. And over the last couple of years, as we've really devised this way that enables people to feel comfortable and to know what to say on video, we found that not only was this the best way that they could do it comfortably and efficiently, but it's also incredibly affordable. And it really is a bit of a disruptor in terms of the way comms is done, the way production is done. But yeah, look, how did I get to where I am today? Look, I've worked in mainstream media for the last it's about 30 years. I started off as a sound recordist not long after leaving high school, and in the news game. So I was one of those guys with the big fluffy microphone, working with the cameraman, and those days are long gone. Well, by and large, particularly in news now, for sound recordists. But it was a great way to cut my teeth as a young fella in the media. But I remember realizing quite early on, back in the 90s, the power of video to create community. And it's an idea that I've sat with for a very long time, and always been interested in how to help organizations to create their own content, to tell their story. And anyway, look, over the years, I've worked for all of the commercial networks in Australia, most usually, typically as a nightly news reporter for all of the flagship bulletins in Sydney. It's been a wonderful ride, but I've sort of peppered it with working on different programs, some of the longer form current affairs programs. I've had a bit of a go at producing content as well, working with other production teams, those really big production teams where they have the flash cameras and, lovely lighting in the shallow depth of field and all that sort of thing. They work with sound recordists and multiple camera shoots and all of that. I've had a go at that as well, and loved all of that. In fact, if people are interested in the LinkedIn profile that I've got, you can see some of those stories are still up there. It's just been a real privilege for me. I count myself blessed to have had the career that I've had in media up until now, because I've been able to connect with people, and as a crime reporter, to engage with the police investigating some of the worst crimes that we've heard about in Australia's history, but also to come alongside the families as they've gone through the worst chapters that they've been through, and to build a relationship of trust with them, so that they know that I'll seek to honour their story. But in amongst all of this, what it really did was just increasingly whet my appetite more and more to enable people to tell their own stories. One of the programs I worked with, they talked about giving a voice to the voiceless and really helping the underdogs in society to give them a voice. And, they'd love to go into bat for consumers when they felt ripped off in something, and or even more serious situations that they'd get themselves into. And, you see the power of video to really give the underdog an upper hand and give them a victory. And everyone loves to hear about that. And so the last couple of years, I've seen what's gone from a side hustle has now become my main gig, enabling, and we do a lot of work with charity partners and small businesses now. It's not only about helping them make content for the obvious things that you would think about straight up, being social media and promotional work, but also training and induction, sort of internal comms. It's a really effective model that we're seeing, yielding great results affordably. But really, the main goal initially was to see folks do this authentically, and how to tell their stories themselves without getting a whole lot of middlemen involved in the process.
Which obviously then cuts down some of the cost, right? So that's a good start for small businesses in their growth journey. And you mentioned that obviously is suited for small businesses like our audience. The obvious one for me was around using it for socials, but you mentioned training, internal comms, etc. So maybe if you can unpack that a bit more for us.
Yeah, I'd love to. And look, in a nutshell, what we're doing, if people are thinking, well, how does this work? There's our goal is to enable you to make this content just with your smartphone. It's not having your smartphone in a gimbal or another bit of equipment and then having a radio microphone and a light. This is with no lights, no microphones, no tripods. When all you've got in your pocket is the smartphone on its own, that's all you use in the course. We aim at that very that level of equipment. Not only is it more affordable, but it also means that when things are happening, when the events are happening around you, and particularly for small business, we're so busy, right? I know this myself. I don't even qualify as a small business operator. It's me on my own at the moment. We're growing, but I know that you need 5 employees to count as a. So what am I? A micro business or a shadow of a small business? I'm an emerging small business. But you're so time poor, and yet amazing events are happening around you that are part of the story of your organization growing. And yes, you're right. It's for external comms to out from the rooftops to amplify what you're doing. And it's not only small business. We love doing this with charity partners who often have, and a lot of small businesses are like this too. They're spread out geographically and they might be doing amazing work overseas, but they've got 1 or 2 people in far-flung places. And so in that context, to go to your point, Michael, that this is about enabling internal comms to really receive a boost and a supercharge, because it means that no longer are you just sending emails to each other, short phone calls here and there, or a Zoom call where we're like we are at the moment. No criticism of our backgrounds here. We're in our, warm home offices here, but it's a bit of a boring background, really, isn't it? But as soon as you go outside, you'll notice that the quality of the background, the engagement, the interest for the audience suddenly lifts. And so in the context of small business where you might have projects going on in a number of locations, maybe around Australia or around the world, using these video techniques enables you to communicate. And even if it's only with your own staff teams internally, it's great for internal comms to really show your colleagues what's happening, but then also for stakeholders and for charity partners as well. When they have donors and sponsors, and particularly this is what we're finding more and more now, is that donors are more and more critical and have more of a critical eye, is what I mean to say, of how their money's being spent. And when they see a charity kind of investing $20,000, $30,000 a year on that flash corporate video where they've traveled all around the world to different locations, there's kind of that, is that where my money's going? Kind of that question in the back of their mind. But when they see their charity partners just making the content with the teams that are on the ground, the locals that are working with them, there's this wonderful benefit that comes. Not only is the video, there's a shorter production time frame so that the video is more timely, it's up to date. The supporters are getting to see just what they want to see, what's happening on the ground where you are. And so there's a few benefits from that. But of course, like you say, this is mainly about as well, how do you shout from the rooftops the great work that you're doing? How can you do it when you're time poor, busy professionals, you don't even know which way to look, and things are happening all around you, and go, sometimes you just have those days where you go, oh, I wish if only I'd had a cameraman here today or a camera operator here today who could have just recorded the moment. That would have been wonderful. Maybe I'll ring a production company and get them involved. And suddenly you're thinking budgets and timing and how we're going to make this work. And already you're putting a lot of emotional investment and mental investment in that process, thinking, how can I make this work? Whereas we say, just take your phone out of your pocket and hit record, capture the moment, put yourself in the story, and do quick interviews with other people. And those 3 things I've just mentioned there are the building blocks. So everything I've realized from decades of working in mainstream media as a journalist, doing nightly news under that sort of real time pressure, that 24-hour news cycle, get the story out there. They're the three building blocks that are just foundational. And so I've systematized that, and now we show people in our course how they can do that with just their smartphone and nothing else.
Yeah, that's, I guess it's the use of technology, isn't it, to enable these sort of things. And like I was saying off air, coincidentally, I read an article in the Smart Company, which is a daily digital, essentially newspaper of articles, essentially, that I read every day, and it's great for small business owners. And they're friends of Grow a Small Business by the editor, Simon Crerar, who moved from Sydney to Hobart probably 18 months ago. So certainly for small business owners, a great thing to read every day. But one of the articles in there was talking about this, exactly how there's been this shift towards what they dubbed as the year of ugly content, being more engaging, but it's raw, authentic, and it's they termed it advertainment. So it's pretty well exactly what you're talking about, isn't it?
Well, you can make any content you want as well. And so it might be that you end up just telling the stories of your clients. And yes, you're telling the story so people understand that you're wanting to promote the work that you're doing. But sometimes there's just a beautiful honesty in it all as well, where you've achieved such a great result for your client that you can, in the end, just make content that promotes their business. But in doing that, you're also telling the story of how what you've been able to bring to the table for them has meant X, Y, and Z, and look at what it's done for them. And so where you have clients as a small business who might be even smaller than yourself, to be seen to be giving them a platform as well. There's an aspect to it where people will sort of go, oh yeah, you're just promoting your work. But there are ways to tell your story that are just authentic, that really just put you in the moment, that show your humanity as well as your business smarts and why the good or service that you're offering is so valuable. But there's just a lovely way as well that we find that people, it's also about realizing no one's perfect, right? We're all just humans going about doing life. And when we take that pressure off ourselves, we've got to perform at a certain level. This is the thing I love hearing people say early on in the course, because no one wants to go on camera. There are very few people that want to make these videos. And if they do, they've typically already started doing them. But where you find the biggest hurdle for folks when they come and do this course is, I don't want to do this. I don't feel comfortable doing this. I hate how I look. I hate how I sound. And that's, how do we get people to go on camera and do this regularly when that's just the reality for them? How do we navigate that space when people don't want to go on camera? What do you do in that context? It's a challenging scenario. How do you overcome that? And that's where we start. The 7 tasks that people go through in Project V. Task 1 is meets people where they're at, how to get comfortable on camera. And how do you find that space? Because, why is it that some people just don't get stage fright or get nervous or tongue-tied? And we've got this lovely approach of just sort of unpacking that for people. But it's where we start. And you're able to grow from that position of feeling uncomfortable on camera, and people just find their comfortable space. And it's about realizing you don't have to be perfect on camera. We're not aiming at getting you word perfect so that you read the teleprompter brilliant. We go the other way. We say no scripts, no teleprompter. We give you all the techniques so that you can do it just naturally. If you can make a phone call, you can make these videos.
Are you a small business owner? You know that getting recruitment right can make or break your team's success. Just one mishire can cost your business up to 27 times their salary. Finding and retaining top talent is a challenge, especially in today's competitive market. That's where our Ultimate Recruitment Toolkit comes in. Over 10 intensive days, our online course is designed specifically for small business owners like you. We'll walk you through the process of sourcing and securing A players for your team. Here's what you'll gain. Learn the proven strategies to pinpoint and attract the best talent in your industry. Access our comprehensive playbook filled with templates and tools tailored to fit your business needs, and apply the resources right away to enhance your recruitment process and streamline hiring. Invest in your business's success by helping your management team become effective recruiters. Supercharge your hiring process today with the Ultimate Recruitment Toolkit, available at growasmallbusiness.com.
Yeah, nice. So what are the other sort of key steps into enabling small business owners to do this?
Yeah, well, look, we've given people, we make it as modular as we can. So when people come along, and generally, let's say you've got a business of around 20 or 30 staff. If your organization's not been making any social media content up until now, and this is a very new idea for folks, what we suggest is we just start with a small trial of 8 to 12 and get people through Project V together. And the way it works is you sign up on a monthly membership basis. And that means you get one-to-one coaching with myself and access to our content, 24-hour video on demand content, where you go through those three areas of putting yourself in the story, getting reaction from other people, capturing the moments as they happen around you. And we also give you the strategy piece as well. We call it the blueprint builder. So those four areas of Project V, it's the techniques to do it efficiently and also the strategy. Why are you making the videos? Who are they for? Where will they be shown? And so if we start off with your organization and say, let's just do a trial, 8 to 12 is a good number. We give you the opportunity, the option of doing Zoom workshops. And we recommend that people do start off with just a short 20-minute session where I just talk about the idea of a mindset of a storyteller, which is really, in a nutshell, we're not trying to make busy, time-poor professionals even more busy with sort of this idea of video journalism. This will enable you to produce news quality content, but no one's got time to be TV reporters, right? That's not what we signed up for. But how to redeem, get back, harness those opportunities, those brief moments in the day where you see the stories are happening around you, how to redeem those and make content to amplify the work that you're doing. And so the trial that we suggest that we do with organizations, it just allows you to start to see how this can fit. And if you have a comms department already who are kind of doing some social media work, we love to show those organizations how the videographers, far from feeling like they're being replaced, they're actually inundated with more content than they've ever had before that's being made by all their staff colleagues around the world in those locations. So rather than having to wait until that trip they're going to do in August this year, the content can be made today and sent to them this afternoon or within minutes of it being recorded. And so that event that's coming up next week, an international day of some occasion, or a fundraising event for a charity, or you might have a new product launch, rather than waiting for the camera crew to be able to travel around the world. There's always going to be a time and a place for that, but this will just supercharge what comms departments can do. Everyone who is employed by the organization, who has a smartphone in their pocket, which is pretty much everybody employed by the organization, can make video content for them. And to do it in a way that, you might think about it now. Imagine asking the CEO, could you just do a short bit to camera on your own? Yeah, we don't have a camera operator to go with you. Can you just do a short 30, 60 second to camera for us standing? Now, most CEOs will probably go, oh, no, I don't have time. Or I just don't feel comfortable doing that. You want me to do it myself? What? This just takes everybody from boards, the C-suite, all the way through the organization. Everybody can do Project V. You can do it together. And so if it is a trial for a smaller organization, we suggest bring people into the course. Bring that person who you're thinking about right now, who is the least likely, whether it's in terms of technology or comfort on camera, least likely to do the course. Bring them into the course as part of that initial trial and just see how the dynamic. It's just a beautiful thing. We've had CEOs of charities say to us wonderful things like, they've been used to public speaking, but just getting comfortable on camera, doing it yourself, it's actually enhanced how they address small groups and large groups as well. And it means, you're not waiting for the camera operator. Even if there's somebody who's part of your, employed by the organization, you're not waiting for them to come and set up their tripod lights and everything for you and say, go, that pressure moment when you're like, okay, speak now. This is actually, you just pick up the phone when you're ready, when you're comfortable. And I've had, leaders of organizations who've been traveling around and they hit that moment when they're doing international travel on day 2 or day 3 where the jet lag really hits them and they need to go to bed early that night. And they'll try and do some videos at that point. I go, you're just tired. You're exhausted. You need to take a break right now. Come back when you're refreshed and have a go tomorrow. And I see their energy levels lift, from the night before when you're tired and depleted and you don't know, if that's the moment when the camera operator's there and that's the only time that they're going to be there and you've just got to get it right then and there, the pressure on you is just even greater. Whereas if you can just come back a few hours later or the next day and have another go then, your ability to communicate and just to be natural and real and be your authentic self, to speak to whether it's your team colleagues or your stakeholders or your, a client that you're trying to bring on board and close the deal with, you've got a one-to-one relationship with them and you just want to send them a short video while you're here in this location. You want those videos to be real, warm and authentic. And this is how to do it when you've got a few other resources around you. You can just reach for the smartphone in your pocket and knock it over quick when you're ready, when you're comfortable. And we hear time and time again, whether it's charities, small business, people in banking and finance, in the aged care sector, wherever, charities overseas, Australian charities, we're working with a large group of different organisations. And the universal human truth that we're seeing time and time again is that this is just a wonderful way for them to make authentic connections with other humans.
That's pretty powerful, isn't it? So we'll promote your course in the show notes. But other than do your course, is there just to close? Is there one tip you can sort of give to our listeners just to get kickstarted on this journey of making their own media or videos?
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah, look, there's a couple of things. I mentioned one already is if you can get outside, we often think of Zoom. We're so used to Zoom calls and, getting logos in there and all this sort of stuff. There's value in that. But if you can just get outside in one of your videos and go for a walk around, it will just lift the engagement, the dynamicness. Now, there's a few other things that you need to think about in that space. The second one, though, because I mentioned that earlier, I'll just mention one other thing that we say early on in our course is the importance of eye contact with the lens, with the camera. And when you pick up your phone and look at it, the first thing you look at is yourself right on the screen. And we spend a lot of time in our workshops encouraging people, look back at the lens, find out where is the lens and look back at the lens. And for those who are watching this on YouTube, everyone else who's listening to this on the podcast, go to YouTube and have a look at what I'm doing here. Because you want to, on your phone in particular, there's all those little dots and like, which one's the actual camera? And it can be quite hard to work it out. You're like, because I think there's a speaker, there's sometimes other lights and other little multiple lenses. But if you just do what I'm doing now with the camera here on our Zoom call, put your finger up to the lens, not while you're recording the video, by the way, before you hit record, just do this and go, oh, that's the camera. And then we say, possibly just put a little sticker or drop of liquid paper, if you remember what liquid paper was, just something like that on the phone. That is your audience. Right. That is your engagement. And if you just put your energy into that as you're making the phone call, speaking to your audience, just draw your eye line back to that lens. That's everything. That's your audience. So they'd be my 2 free tips for everybody. Thank you for listening. And I do appreciate the time to spend with you now, Michael. It's wonderful to talk about it all. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great. You can bear the time and some great insights and certainly plenty for our audience to think about. And as I say, we'll share your course in our show notes for them to take up that opportunity as well.
Wonderful. Thank you, Michael. Again, appreciate it.
We'd greatly appreciate you taking a couple of minutes to leave our podcast a review on iTunes. If you don't have an account, simply follow us on Spotify. You'll help other small business owners find the cast and valuable content our guests share.